I beg Mona, no shout. Oh. Please do not shout. Um, um, okay, so we are about to start. So, welcome to today's class. This is actually day 3, and we've done a lot in day 1 and day 2. So, today we'll basically focus on editing mockups. We'll focus on editing mockups, and this time I want to show you how to create highlight and shadows on your mockups. Let's say, for instance, you have an image, a solid color mockup, maybe a snack pouch, and it's just white, and then you want to create your own mockup. So I'll show you what to do. So first things first, let's get a snack pouch PNG. So go, you can search for snack pouch PNG. Let's look for the white. Okay, so we are basically going to get something like this, but I think there is one that I really want us to get. Let's see if we can download one. I think we should work with this one. We can work with this one. So we are just going to download it. I'm going to create a folder for this one. I'll just name it snack pouch. And then we'll just look for a simple design on Pinterest that we can just replicate, so that we can even download one if need be. So let's just search for snack pouch design. Okay, now you can see lots of snack pouch designs. We might just need to recreate one. It doesn't have to be very detailed. For the purpose of this tutorial, we are not going into lots of details with snack pouch design. I just want to show you how to create those realistic highlights and shadows on mockups you get, or basically how to create your own mockups. All right, so I think we'll just get one as our inspiration. I think we can go with this one. Can use a fictional brand name. Everything is going to be fictional. So I'll save this here. So I'll open the snack pouch we downloaded. It's a PSD file. If you need the file, I'll send it to you. So we have this. Let's add a solid color in the background so that we can see. I think I'll go with something around purple. Okay, so now this is what I want us to do. We have our design inspiration, which is this one. Let me import it in Photoshop. So we're basically using this as our inspiration. So we're going to get something like this, probably a maybe chin chin or peanut. So we'll still check Pinterest. Let's say peanut. Yeah, well, okay, I think something. Okay, something like this, maybe top view of something. This seems to work, but yeah, well, we just have to go with, okay, I think we can work with this. We can work with this one or this one. Let's go with this one. So I'll download this, and we can still get this other one, but let's leave it for the purpose of time. So I'm going to just import this and remove the background. So just select subject. So once you've done that, we will not go into lots of details with the edges and all that, but make sure if you're trying to cut things out like this, you ensure that there are no edges that are not selected. All right, so ensure that your selections are as perfect as possible. Now we'll mask out the background. You can just click the mask icon here and it's going to remove the background, and you can convert this to a smart object. Back to our original design, we want to create our own mockup. So this is basically going to teach you how to create your own mockups, just in cases where you cannot find exactly what you want. Okay, so you can just create something for yourself. So what we are going to do is create a rectangle that will be our placeholder. So we are going to create this rectangle, and then we'll convert this rectangle to a smart object. Let me change the color so that you can see it. So this rectangle is where we'll have our design. We'll make it we'll create a clipping mask with this layer. So you can right click and go to create clipping mask. So it's clipped to our image. Let me use something brighter. So it's clipped to our image. We can just convert this to a smart object. So now let's enter inside. You double click the smart object to open it. Let me close this. No, this is our inspiration. So I'll close. Okay, let's just copy this one first. So you can just do Ctrl C and then go to this our design here and you paste it. So I can now close this. Okay, so now I'm going to split my screen, this my Photoshop document. I'll close this. So I have this tab and this one. So I want you to see the results side by side. So I can go to window and go to arrange. I'll arrange them two up vertically. So we have the design here, and then we have the actual mockup on this side so that you can see everything clearly. Let me collapse some of these panels. Alright, so we have our original design and we have the placeholder. So we can just edit this. So you would see that any correction you make here or any design change you make here, once you save it, it reflects on the mockup here. So that's how mockups work. Now let's go to our design inspiration and just work out something quick. We're not going to be very detailed with all of that, so we are going to replicate this. So let's select the rectangle tool. No, we are going to select the pen tool instead, and then you can just draw something. So, oh no, let's create another layer because it's trying to intersect the previous shape layer we had. So you can use a rectangle or any shape you like. Let's just draw something, and I'm going to warp this shape. Let me change the color. Let me adjust this so that we can see this clearly, because this is our focus. Okay, so let's warp this shape a little. So you can do Ctrl T, right click and go to warp, and then you can just play around with the nodes or the anchor points, something like this. I think this works. So I can duplicate this and rotate it and bring it down here, maybe something like this. Let's use, yep, I think this color works best. So let's write something like chin chin. So you can write okay, so we can just write this, and then let's change the font. We can use let's use this kids font or any font that matches what we are trying to achieve. I think this should work. No, this doesn't. Okay, we can use this, but let's use the white color. Oh yeah, well, the yellow works, but let's make it brighter. So I think this works. We can reduce the line spacing. So We still have to increase this a little. Let's take this. Okay, so I think this is fine. Can just increase this a little bit so that we can bring it under this our chin layer. So it's now like this. So you can try to be very detailed with your own design. So now once we save this, you can see that it reflects here on the mockup. Okay, so we'll change this down color here. So I'm going to use this. It doesn't really work, so let's use a darker version. Let's use a darker version. And now here we can just write any fictional brand name. I'll think of something. Let's say what name should I use now? Let's just use the same brand name we used yesterday. So I'm going to change the color to this one. So if you have your logo, you can place the logo here, and then there's a lot you can do with this. So let's assume that's the brand logo. So if you save it, it reflects on your design. You can add maybe some write-up. Let's say the size. Let's say it is 10 grams. You can write 10 grams. Maybe you can use another font. Let's use Archivo font. And then so these are all the details that can be on your design. So once you save it, it reflects here. So now, for now, this mockup isn't looking realistic. We are just trying to get the design right. So let's do something else here. Let's say, what should we put here now? Let's just write good. Let's say yummy chin. So let's say yummy chin. So let's say yummy chin. This can be small. It doesn't have to be so big. This can be small. And then let's draw a circular path around this. Let's ensure that the paragraph alignment is set to center. And then you can select your ellipse tool, and then ensure that you change the mode from shape to path, because we want to use that to write text in a circular format. So you can just select your text tool and click on this path, and then write whatever you want to write. Ensure that the font is small. It's a small font, so we can still, let's just repeat yummy chin. So, but let's say, for example, your client gives you details. You can use your client's details. So just type, and then nope. Let's type another one. Yummy chin. So we are just typing in a circular path, so we might have to reduce this because the last set did not really show. Let's say 5.2 should work. Okay, 5.2 works. So if we save this, You can scale it down so that it doesn't look too big. Or instead of what is at the center, let's download a checkmark PNG. So let's search for a checkmark PNG. Just a minute. Okay, so we can let's pick anyone that we can use. I think this should work. Yeah, this seems to be the best option that I really want to use. Okay, so I'm just going to add this to this design. So let's just put it here. And then let's just add something to the background. So if we save this, it reflects on our mockup here. So this is just a way of you creating your own mockup. Okay, so let's I want to add something to the background, so I'll select the triangle tool, and then I'm going to draw. Ensure that it changes from path to shape. Okay, so I can draw a triangle, and then we can use this color that we used for the changing, and then adjust it. Now we are going to repeat this several times. I'm going to turn off every other layer so that you can really see what I'll do here. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'll turn this off as well. So I want to create this triangular pattern around the design. So you can just do Ctrl J to duplicate it, then Ctrl R. No, Ctrl R is for ruler. So Ctrl J to duplicate. Let's do that again. Select the triangle layer and do Ctrl J to duplicate, and then Ctrl T to activate the transform controls. So if you don't have this your anchor point activated, ensure that you activate it from here. So we are just going to move this to the top center, and we are going to rotate this. So once we've done that, you can now repeat the action. You don't have to do for everyone, so you can just do Shift Alt Control T and it will repeat itself. So So once you do it once, you can repeat the action by doing Shift Alt Control T. And then once you've done that, you can select all the triangle layers and then merge them as a single shape. So you can select all, right click, and merge shapes, so it becomes a single shape layer. So what we are going to do is to change the blend mode of this one. So you can try any blend mode that really works with your project. I think I'm going to use soft light, and then I'm going to reduce the opacity. So we can reduce the opacity to 50%, and then let's turn on every other thing that we had. We can make this, let's make this coming from this side. Okay. Alright, so I think we can make do with this. Let's bring our logo down a bit. So you can bring this down. And then once you save that, it updates on the mockup. So let me return this back to the single view. I'll just close this. And so we have this. Now it's looking flat because this is how it originally is. So it's looking flat because this is how it originally is. But we want to have this realistic light effect and all that. So what we can do is to duplicate this original object. You can just do Ctrl J. We'll duplicate it twice. Let's hold Alt here. You can use Ctrl J, but I want to use Alt and drag this above this our design layer. So I can turn this on again. So I have a copy of this. I would rasterize it and still use it as a clipping mask. So if you don't really get what I'm explaining, you can drop your questions in the comments. I'll attend to it. So I'll duplicate this. So we have two duplicates of this. So one is going to be the highlights and the other one is going to be the shadows. So we can rename them highlights, and then we can rename the other one shadows. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we are going to increase the brightness, or we are going to make it darker depending on which layer we are attending to. So for the highlights, we are going to reduce the brightness so that the very bright areas can really stand out. Let me turn off the layer for shadows. So you can just use Ctrl L on your keyboard, or you can go to Image, Adjustments, and you click on Levels. So I'm going to reduce this. So you just move it to the right. So now you can see that it doesn't have to be very dark. No, it should not be pure black. You can have something around here. So now these bright areas would really stand out, so that when you change the blend mode, it's really going to pop out. So once you do that, now what blend mode removes black? It's the screen blend mode. Okay, so once you change that to screen, you can see that you are already having the highlights. But now it's not complete. We need the shadows too. So we'll come to this other layer, turn it on, and then go to your levels adjustment. You can use the shortcut Ctrl L, or you can go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. All right. So this one, for the shadows, we are going to make it brighter so that the darker areas, which is the shadows, can stand out. So we'll move this slider towards the right. So it doesn't have to be pure white. We just want to have these shadows, like the darker edges. So now we're going to use the blend mode that is going to kill the white, and that is multiply. So if you use multiply, it's going to kill the whites and preserve the shadows. So now I'm going to group this, or let's leave it that way. You can group it, or if you don't want to, let's just group it and name it adjustments. So now you can see, I'll show you the before and the after. So this is before without our effect, and now this is after. So it's looking a lot more realistic. And now let's say let's download another design. I can literally save this as a mockup and upload it on any mockup website for other people to download, because I've made it editable. Anybody can edit it and use it. So let's get a design from Pinterest and try to change the design. Let's say snack pouch design. So we are going to look for an actual snack pouch design. Okay, so I think we can download this. Yes, let's download something like this. This is just for the purpose of this tutorial. This is someone else's design, so we are going to download this and use it for this our project. So now I can literally rename this layer. Let's say I'll just put your design here. And then I can always open the smart object and put any design I have. So I'm going to bring in this design, and then I'm going to scale it up to like fit. I just want this green part, although we might have to do lots of scaling for this one. So I think this should serve. So the design is a little blurry because it's low quality, obviously. We downloaded it from Pinterest. So if I save this with Ctrl S, you can now see. You can see, so any design you put, let me turn this off and have our original design. So any design you put, it works, because now we have the highlights and the shadows. So this was the design without our adjustment. So that's basically just to show you how to create your own mockups. Like I said earlier, let's say you're trying to get a snack pouch mockup and you were not getting what you wanted. As long as you can find something like this, because sometimes if you have a knowledge of 3D modeling, you can actually create a 3D model of this and bring it into Photoshop and create your own mockup. Okay, so but if you can't find what you want, you can just do it like this. Now let's use something else to illustrate this. I want us to do another one so that we'll have another example. Well, let's use a bottle of water. Let's use a bottle of water. So there's this bottle water I generated with ChatGPT. There's this bottle water I generated with ChatGPT. Which one should I use? Okay. Let me use this one. So I'm just going to give this a solid color.
My boy is playing. My boy playing.
Let's use this color.
You can be sincerely foolish. Educate.
Okay, so we have this bottle of water. Now let's add something to it, just to illustrate the highlights and shadows again. Okay, so this time I may not really have to create a smart object. Let's just create a shape or let's just download any logo or any PNG logo. I just want us to download something random and then use it for our design. Yeah, well, okay, let's try this YouTube logo, or should we use YouTube or Photoshop? I think I have Photoshop logo, so let's use Photoshop. Let me dig out my Photoshop logos. I'm going to go to pictures, icons. I think I have Photoshop logo, or Photoshop icon rather. So I'm going to import this, and then we are going to have this as, let's say we want to make this look realistic. Aside having it as a PNG, we have to really see those realistic highlights on this logo so that it looks like it's on the bottle. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So we want this logo to look like it's on the bottle. So we just create a clipping mask, right click and do create clipping mask. Okay, so once we've done that, just like before, we're going to duplicate this bottle twice, one for highlight and one for shadows. So I'll duplicate this. I can rename this highlights, and then I'll duplicate it again with Ctrl J, and I'll rename this shadows. So now we have our normal design. We have the highlights layer and the shadows layer. For now, everything looks the same. So let's make our levels adjustments. So for the highlights, like I said, we are going to make it darker so that we can really remove the darkest parts with a blend mode. All right, so let me really illustrate that again. I did it before with this, so I just want to show you how it applies to several other things. So this is the highlights layer. You can do Ctrl L for the shortcut, or you can just go to image adjustments and then levels. So you see your levels adjustments. So once you see the levels adjustment, we are going to move this to the right to make this darker. So what we are trying to get are these lines. We just want this highlight. So everything that is black will be removed once we change the blend mode. So once we do that, let's click OK. So what we'll just do is change the blend mode to screen. And now you can see that we are already having this realistic highlight on this thing. So if it's too much, because for this case it's too much, so you can still reduce the levels. You can still do Ctrl L and maybe still bring it down a little more. Okay, so now we are going to do the same thing for the shadows layer. So let's select our shadows layer, and now for the shadows, now remember, let me repeat it again. For the highlights, you make it darker so that the brightest parts, which is the highlights, can stand out, so that once you change the blend mode to screen, it will remove or key out the black areas and leave only the bright areas to stand as the highlights. So while for the shadows layer, we'll do the complete opposite. So for the shadows layer, we'll increase the brightness so that we have mostly white areas, but we can still see those little dark areas that will form the shadows. So let's do that again. So if we do Control L and we make this brighter by moving it to the right, it doesn't have to be too much. So once we do that, let's change the blend mode to multiply, because multiply is going to remove the white areas. So if you're not satisfied, you can still do Control L and then try to adjust it the way you want. So let me group this. I'll group them and name the group adjustments. So now our bottle is looking dark. You can still do final adjustments. Maybe you can increase brightness and contrast. Yeah, you can do something like this. So but this is without the highlights and shadows, and this is when you add it. So it looks a lot more realistic when you add it. Okay, so back to this, our snack pouch, still the same thing without it and with the design. So that's just how you can create realistic highlights and shadows on your product mockups. All right. So this might be a little confusing if you did not get what I was trying to explain. So let me repeat it one more time and then we can call it a day. What mockup should we use now? I want us to use something else as an example. Let's say which one should we use? So now, for example, if you're using this black one, it's still the same process, but now it will be slightly different, because when you're trying to increase the highlights for this one, it's easier to get when you're using a black pouch. It's easier to get highlights. Do you get? Because it's already black. You just need to change the blend mode. So, but trying to get the shadows, you might have to increase the levels adjustment a little bit. Okay, I want us to use another product so that it doesn't look like we are stuck with one type of thing. What should we use now? Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to think of something that we can use. Let's go to, what shall we use now? I can't really find. Okay, let me search for a food pack. Okay, I'm trying to look for the simpler one so that we won't have to waste a lot of time, because if you want to go into details, this might take a couple of hours to get your design and then start making it into what you want it to be. Let me see if this can be downloaded. So in the same manner, we would use our previous design. We may not really have to change the design. This is not high quality, but we have to manage it for this tutorial. So we have this. You add your background, your solid color or gradient background, whatever you feel like using. So like before, what we are going to do is to create the layer that would carry all our designs. Okay, so we want to give this a design. We don't want it to remain white like this. So first of all, you draw a rectangle. I really don't want this to cover the top of this handle or the seal, so I can just create a rectangle around this. Now let me bring it on top. So what I'm going to do is to convert this layer to a smart object. So let me just name it to design here. Now I'm creating this thing in such a way that any designer can use it. So even if I send it to you, you know where to put your own design, and then you're able to fly with it. All right. So right click, convert to smart object, still right click and create clipping mask. So always ensure it's a clipping mask so that it takes the shape of your object. Okay. So we are going to double click the clipping mask and we are going to make our design here. So I don't need to recreate the design. I'll copy this one we did here. So I'll open this design and just copy all the layers I used here. Select all of them, Control C, and then I'll paste them here. I can close this because I no longer need it. Okay. So I'll just make the adjustments. Just scale it down. It seems to be that it's just the triangle that is adjusting. So ensure that you scale it down. And then once you've done that, you can obviously make your adjustments. So I can select this and stretch it out. So you can stretch this out. And then let's increase our bowl of chin-chin. So you can increase your bowl of chin-chin to be like this. I guess this is way too big. You can increase your bowl of, let's say we keep it at this side and have our chin-chin on, our chin-chin text on this side. So it does not really matter how, whatever your design is. So I need you to recreate this for your own self. You can use whatever product you prefer. I let this be under here, so it can be like this. So it's going to give us this pop out type of effect. So for these our 10 grams, I want it to be in a circle. I'm just making slight adjustments so it doesn't look like it's exactly the same thing with the previous one. So I might have to change the colors for this, but not really necessary. That's not the focus. So our focus is on the highlights and shadows. So I'm just going to be faster with this. Okay. All right, so our fictional logo can be here, and then this, let's group this together, and then should we, so let's reposition that. Maybe this part is fine. I just want this to be obvious. So if I save that, it now reflects on our design. Let me save these ones so that I can close them. I don't want us to have too many tabs and you start getting confused. Let me save them, PSD files. So I can So I'll save this and close it. Then I'll save this. What's the issue with this one? Why can't I save it? Okay, so I can name this snack pouch 1, and the other one is going to be snack pouch 2. So I just want to quickly save this one so that we can close them. And now we have our design layer and the mockup layer. So now let me split this into 2 different tabs so that we can see them on each side. So I can go to window, arrange 2 up vertically. So we have our mockup and we have our design here. So we've made our design. I just wanted to show you how you can also do this for yourself. So I will close this because I no longer have business with that. Now I want us to make this look realistic. I want us to have those, let me turn this off. I want us to see these edges but still on our mockup. So what we are going to do is duplicate this our layer 2 times. One will be the highlights, which is the bright areas, these bright areas that you can see, and the other layer will be the shadows, which will form these dark areas. So this is going to really make your mockup look realistic. All right, so I will duplicate this. I can name this highlights and then duplicate it again and name it shadows. So what we are going to do for the highlights is that we are going to make it dark with the levels adjustment. All right, so you can use the shortcut Control L, or you can go to image adjustments and levels. So let's make this darker so we can remove the dark areas. So once we've done that, just change the blend mode to screen. Now it's looking too bright, so you can still adjust it. Still do your Control L to open up the levels adjustment, so you can just still take it a little bit to the right so that it doesn't look too white. So this is without the highlight, and this is when we've added the highlight. So it's beginning to take form. So now let's add the shadow to make it realistic. Now for the shadows, we are going to do the opposite. You see, for the highlights, we made it darker so that once we use screen blend mode, it's going to take out the black areas and leave the bright areas to form the highlight. So for the shadows, we'll do the opposite. You do your levels adjustments, Control L, and then take this to the left so that we'll just leave only the shadows. So once we change the blend mode, it becomes the shadow. So let's change the blend mode to multiply. So this was without the shadow and this is with the shadow. So if I group this and name them adjustments, I can name this adjustments. Alright, so without our adjustments we just have this, and with the adjustments we now have this. All right, so this is just to show you how to create realistic highlights and shadows on your mockups. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can kindly leave them on the group chat, on the Telegram group chat, so that I'll attend to them. Now I'm going to drop these 3 PSD files we created. Let me quickly open them again so we would see them. So this was the one we did for a bottled water, and this is the first one we did. So I'm just going to save this as snack pouch 2. Now I'm going to export this so that you can all see what we did today. So I'm going to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. I'm going to save it in the same folder. So I'm going to go to PSD. That's just where I save my stuff. PSD, and then snack pouch 1. Now I can close this, go to File, Export. I'll also export this. And now for this, go to File, Export, Quick Export as PNG. Alright, so I guess we are done with today's tutorial. Like I said, if you have any questions, kindly send them on the group chat and we'll attend to them right away. Okay, thank you very much for participating in today's class. See you tomorrow. Okay.